I think you'll get a pop-up to say something like that. You need to approve that. Yeah, so welcome everyone to this first ever webinar that we're hosting. This is an experiment for Grounded. So we're just going to see if this works. So it's a little bit of an informal vibe. The setup of the session is very simple. So first we'll have super brief introduction to Grounded for those of you who don't know Grounded. I will do that, and then I'll give it over to Daniel, who is our sort of regen egg enthusiast, who's gonna do a talk on soil structure for about 20 minutes. If during the talk you have questions, you can just put them in the chat screen, and then after that we'll have time for answering those questions or other questions that come up, or discussion or whatever. So that's the setup. I'm gonna try to share my screen. See. One second. Okay, can you all see my screen now? The presentation? Yes? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Great. Okay. So little bit about who is Grounded. Well, who are we? This is our team. We have a team of people in South Africa, that's our main base, and then in Zambia, Tanzania, and the Netherlands. Very fun and young and diverse group of people. And what we do is we give regenerative agriculture support to farmers in Africa, and then so we help them to switch to regenerative agriculture. And then we build what we call operating companies. Those are companies that process and sell the produce from those farmers. Can be essential oils, herbal tea, spices. And then we try to sell those at prices as good as possible. We operate both in local markets as well as international markets. So far what we've done is we've built 3 of these operating companies from scratch. One doing essential oils in South Africa, another one herbal tea. There's a vegetable company in Zambia that we're busy with now, and we recently formed a joint venture with a company in Tanzania that's doing spices. And the last thing that we have launched, because we noticed that it's really difficult to sell our ingredients at a premium, is that we've launched Grounded Ingredients, which is a sort of wholesale platform for brands who are looking to source regenerative ingredients directly from farmers. So that's a little bit about Grounded. You can find more on our website, grounded.co.za or groundedingredients.com. But now I think it's good if I give the floor to Daniel to talk about the real content. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tekla. So, as Tekla briefly mentioned, I'm the regenerative agriculture enthusiast or specialist for Grounded. I help our farmers and other farmers that supply to this Grounded Ingredients platform with advice on, let's say, more sustainable agriculture. And my expertise is mostly on composting and soil microbiology, but I try to approach these farms and the support I give in a very holistic way. And when Tekla mentioned she wanted to do this webinar, I said, well, the first and most basic thing that I do with a farmer when I get to their farm is to look at their soil structure. It's a simple thing, but often I find that that's the biggest problem when you meet a conventional farmer or someone who's trying to shift to a regenerative approach, is that their soil structure has been degraded to such a point that they're actually losing yield. So today's talk is going to be, I'm going to be quite general about soil structure. And I realize that not everyone here is probably a farmer. And then if there are any more technical questions that anyone wants answered, then you, like Tekla said, welcome to put them in the chat, and I'll try my best to get to them. So to keep things simple, I'm just going to talk about three things today: what soil structure is, why it's important, and then basically how you can manage your soil structure and manage it towards a more regenerative farm. So how can you improve your soil structure? So to start off, what is soil structure? You can go to the next slide, Tekla. So this statement, the healthy soil consists of 45% mineral component, 5% organic matter, and 50% air and water. I mean, it's a very general statement, but you find it almost everywhere when you're looking at what is soil composed of. And the mineral component, that's easy to understand. That's the sand and silt that the soil consists of, and the organic matter is organic matter and microbiology. But that 50% water and air, that's attributed to the pore spaces in the soil, and the structure is what creates that space for that 50% air or water. And obviously it's very variable. As the soil gets moist, then the water component increases and the air component decreases. So it's constantly in flux. And so just as a basic, the structure is what creates that 50% space in the soil. If you look at soil texture, so you can go to the next slide. Traditionally, soil texture it's what your mineral components in your soil are composed of. So what sizes of particles you have, and this is split up into sand, silt, and clay. And this triangle here on the left-hand side it's a very common triangle where you can try and gauge what the texture of your soil is. But texture isn't structure. The texture of your soil affects your structure. So it's definitely has an impact on your soil structure. If you have a high clay, for instance, then you often have a much tighter structure, whereas a high sand component would have a looser structure. But structure is far more than texture. You can have two soils with identical texture, and they would have vastly different structures based on the organic matter and how that soil has been treated in the long run. So you can see on the right-hand side, this is an excerpt from a picture that talks about macro aggregates and micro aggregates. So these are the particles of soil that are bound together by organic matter, roots, microorganisms, and it's those minerals and how they're arranged in the soil. So it's a three-dimensional structure in your soil that actually gives rise to the structure. So like I mentioned, organic matter and microbiology are the two key things that actually create structure. Here you can see this is a fungal hypha, this strand running through the middle over here. And these brown areas are they minerals, particles, different sizes that have been glued together by organic matter. So it's decomposing plant matter, root exudates, so sugars, and then glues that the microorganisms actually secrete. So you might have heard of a molecule called glomalin. It's a type of glue that bacteria glue themselves to particles. So they glue themselves to this organic matter, and they actually slowly over time glue different particles together to start to build this three-dimensional structure. So it's, I can say, almost exclusively your soil microbiology and your soil organic matter that's going to be creating this this three-dimensional structure and creating these pore spaces. And I mean, this image here is at 400% magnification. So it is truly microscopic. In most cases, these pores are so small that a plant's root can't even go in there, but the fungi and the bacteria can enter into these pores, and water is stored and air is stored inside of these pores. So if you then ask, now that you understand what structure is more or less, we go over to why it's important. So like I said, 50% of that soil is supposed to hold either air or water at any one time. And if you have a case where your structure is degraded, then the first sign is very poor water infiltration and very poor drainage. So here you can see this is an irrigated rosemary land, and you can see that the water is just sitting on the surface. It just creates a pond over there. It is a very fine texture, clay soil in this case, but the structure has been completely destroyed. And it means that water can't go into the soil, and you need the water in the soil, obviously, for the plants' roots to access that water. So you'll just have a lot of surface evaporation over here. What also happens here is that that water very quickly fills up those pore spaces and then cannot drain out. And you then don't have oxygen in the root zone of the plants, which creates anaerobic conditions. And most people don't know, but plant roots actually respire. They have to take up oxygen during the evenings through their roots. And so a situation like this, it creates an environment for disease organisms to proliferate, and the plants will actually start to suffocate under the ground in prolonged waterlogging in cases like this. If you go to the next slide, then you can see the structure is also important because the plant's roots need, the more soil that a plant root can access, the more nutrients and water it can access. So in a case like on the left-hand side, you see that the structure is okay, and then you get this layer. It's a compaction layer, and all of a sudden you find that there's very few plant roots penetrating into that. And similarly on the right-hand side, that structure, in any case, the top section of that photo, the lighter brown soil, is already very poor structure. And then below that middle line there, you can see it becomes far darker, and that's a very compacted layer over there. It's usually called a plow pan, or it's a compaction layer that results from over-tilling the soil. And plant roots will struggle. In some cases, even impossible for a plant's root to enter into that bottom section over there. So now you find that you can only grow plants, the roots can only live in the top 20 to 40 centimeters of the soil. And you know, some plants, alfalfa or lucerne, for instance, has a root system that can extend 6 meters into the ground. So you severely limit the area that those roots can draw water and nutrients from. And then it becomes a case of you have to constantly be irrigating and constantly be feeding that tiny section of the topsoil, so that the plant can actually have access water and nutrients. So it becomes very much a yield limiting factor. So on the next slide, you can see over here, this is that same rosemary land now just panned out to the side. And you can see the standing water in this area, this patch in the middle here. You can see how poorly those plants are growing. They're suffering from a fungal disease because of the standing water and the anaerobic conditions. And secondly, they just can't penetrate deeply enough. Their roots can't penetrate deeply enough. So as soon as that land dries out, then they immediately feel drought stress compared to the plants further back in the image that actually have an okay area, that they, an okay structure that they can draw nutrients and water from. So when we look at managing your soil structure, the first thing, and it's something that I'm always surprised at, is people don't measure their soil structure. And it's not usually a test that a laboratory, a soil laboratory would offer. But the most basic way to check your soil structure is to actually dig a profile hole. So you need to go out to your field with a shovel and you dig a hole between 90 and 120 centimeters deep. And you, like the previous image, you put a ruler down there and you test, you feel for any different layers. The easiest way to do it is then to take a knife, you stick it in at the bottom and you pull it up the side of that profile hole. And there where you feel your knife starts to get stuck or there's some resistance, that's usually you'll find that that's a compaction layer that's runs across there. So as a general way to check your the soil's profile and the structure, profile hole is a very useful tool. And then to try and understand the stability of these aggregates, there's a type of test called a slake test. It's where you take a sand clot from your soil and you place it inside water and you time how long it takes for that water to dissolve the sand clot and for it to fall apart. And there's actually very nice apps that you can download these days, even that takes a photo and it times it for you and it will give you what the slake score is. It's usually on a scale of 1 to 6. But you'll very quickly notice that you put you put the soil clot in water. If it just falls apart immediately, you know that there's no structure. There's nothing holding that soil clot together. There's no organic matter binding it up. Your water will quickly become cloudy. Whereas if you've got really good organic matter and really good structure, that sand clot will sit there and it will just bubble as it exchanges all the air inside of it for water, and then it would sit perfectly still. It won't dissolve into the water. It won't fall apart. Yeah, it's a great way to test your structure of your soil, these aggregate structures. So once you know what's going on with your structure, once you've measured it, the next slide is, the next step is to actually physically alter your structure. So tillage is the tool that we have developed over the years to change your soil structure. And structure is a very physical component, and the quickest way to change your structure is to till your soil. And the problem is tillage is the thing that's busy destroying your structure at the same time. So it was a wonderful revolution when the Green Revolution came about, and people had tractors and plows, and they all of a sudden they could loosen up their soil, introduce a whole bunch of oxygen. That action stimulated bacteria to there was a bacterial explosion. These bacteria broke down all the organic matter that was stored and accumulated over many centuries to build up that soil structure. It released a huge amount of nitrogen, and if you added just a little bit of fertilizer to that, you've got amazing plant growth. The problem is that carbon that you're releasing like that it's a very finite resource. So every time that you till, you release more carbon. And now people are tilling after their crop to bury their residues. They were tilling to remove weeds. They kept tilling and kept burning the carbon out of their soils until you find you get to a point where there's no structure left in your soil. You till, it fluffs up the soil, it's beautiful until the first rainfall event, and then you find it's a thing called microerosion. So that water goes in and that soil just falls apart and it just goes and settles like concrete and gets rock hard. You get capping, and then only once the plants start growing do the plant roots start imparting some structure. So The answer is to move to a reduced tillage or a zero tillage system, ultimately, because you need to give your soil time to heal and to recover that structure, to build up that organic matter again, to have the microbes come in and rebuild the structure. But I've seen many farmers who just stop tillage altogether and then very nearly they very nearly lost their farms because of it. Because a wise guy once told me, no-till needs to be owned. You can't just stop tilling if your soil doesn't have any structure, because it's going to fall down the first time it rains, and then you're going to be stuck. So it's better to move to different types of tillage equipment. So you move away from a plow or a disc harrow to this, in this case, is a subsoiler, which doesn't turn the soil over. It penetrates deeply, breaks up that compaction layer, but it doesn't mix the soil and introduce too much oxygen. It just loosens the soil up. And you slowly reduce the number of tillages that you do in a year. So from doing it 4 or 5 times in a season when you're planting, down to maybe once in a season, then you further reduce it down to once a year, and then once every 2 or 3 years. So you need to come with a plan of how you're going to reduce your tillage steadily without losing lots of yields or getting yourself into trouble. The next slide shows living roots. So cover crops are almost an essential tool in building up soil structure. You need to have roots in the ground at all times. You can see here on the right hand side, the soil, the roots create a community of microorganisms around them that they feed these microorganisms sugars in the form of root exudates in exchange for nutrients and water that the microorganisms give back to the plants. And in that way, this plant is creating structure as it's growing. And when that plant finishes growing and dies, then it leaves behind the roots as organic matter that's going back into the soil. So living roots in the soil is probably one of the fastest and best ways to reboot that organic matter cycle, to feed your microorganisms to start growing them. And you'll find that through the cropping season, you build up structure, and then at the end of that season, the idea is then that you shouldn't till, you should retain the residues, and you should rather just plant the next crop in so that you have a continual roots in the ground as long as what's possible in your growing circumstances. And so lastly, the best way to quickly build structure is then to also stimulate and feed your soil microbiology, because like I said, those fungi are the ones that are going to be building structure at the end of the day. Bacteria are good at gluing minerals together, and they're very good at quickly cycling nutrients in the ground. But fungi are the ones that are going to be creating very stable organic matter, and they sort of build the scaffolding for these aggregates. They're the skyscraper builders. So good quality composts, retaining residues, and eventually stopping tillage on your farm will all support microorganisms to do their work. So you need to feed them, and you need to make sure that they're there. So good compost additions, especially on very poor soil, can have a very quick and dramatic effect on your soil structure. And yeah, then slowly but surely these microorganisms will start to recover your structure in your soil. So that's, in a nutshell, a very basic introduction to soil structure and why it's important. And it's a very easy thing that you can start with when you're moving to a regenerative system, is to start with your soil biology, start with your soil structure, supporting your biology, reducing your tillage, and to quickly fix up your soils. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Daniel. I have stopped sharing my screen because then I can see everyone again. Are there any questions? I see somebody, Annetje has asked if you can link to some of these apps you mentioned. I'm sure Daniel can do that. Oh wait, am I actually gonna? No, I'm gonna. Any other questions? Feedback, experiences. Was this useful?
I'm looking for that app.
Oh, great.
Actually, a very nice project, the university project, where they developed it with artificial intelligence to actually track how these aggregates fall apart. I'll find it and I'll share it in the link.
I see a question coming in. Do you see a role for animals?
Yes, definitely. So animals can either have a very positive role on your soil structure, because incorporating them in your management system helps bring in organic matter, so manure into the system, which feeds and supports that biology. But I've also seen how livestock can have a very detrimental effect on your soil structure, mostly through overgrazing, keeping high stock densities for really long times. Animals tend to create, they're very habitual creatures, so they create like paths in a field back and forth to a water trough, and that actually creates enormous compaction. People don't realize it, but it actually creates a huge problem. And then also grazing with larger ruminants like cows on very wet soil. Cows tend to, it's the same as going into a very wet soil with a heavy tractor. You can very quickly destroy your structure and create compaction. So there's definitely a benefit to bringing animals into a system, but then you need to manage them very well, and also regeneratively. So more rotational grazing or holistic plant grazing, something like that, so that they don't have a negative impact.
Cool, thanks, Daniel.
And yeah, I shared that app there. And like I said, it's Sydney I think it was developed at Sydney University. So it's actually useful. I don't know if they even have ads in it. It was just a nice little science app that I found to be quite a useful thing.
Cool. Any other questions? Looks like it was all super clear, Daniel.
Easy subject to cover. That's what I'm aiming for, is small bite-sized bits of information that people can actually take something home over lunchtime with. So I'm glad it was clear.
Cool. So I actually think if there are no more questions, then we can just pause here. Oh, when is the next presentation? Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think we need to make a plan. But yeah, I think it's coming. So Daniel, what is your what topic do you plan to discuss in the next presentation? That may be good.
Well, with Grounded, we're busy doing a blog series on how to move to regenerative systems, and I'm writing these blogs as the same way that I consult for farmers, taking a holistic approach. So starting with the soil physical structure, then moving over to the soil chemistry, and then lastly, we're going to touch on soil biology. So we'll probably do the next blog in the series about soil chemistry. Also a very basic introduction to soil chemistry and testing your soil. And then last would be the soil biology component, where we can then talk about how you use biology then to support your system as well. And then so that you can see how all three these components in soil fit together for to create a regenerative system. Because too often people just focus on one aspect, like the biology or the chemistry, and they forget that it's a very complex and holistic system, soil, and to build soil health. So that's those will be the next two blogs and next two webinars in the series.
Yeah, great. And I will attempt to share the presentation and the recording of this session somewhere on that Eventbrite system, which is also the first time I'm using it. So if you don't see it there and you would like to get it, just pop us an email and we can send it to you. But hope, like, fingers crossed, we'll manage. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. And then enjoy the rest of your days.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.